Yeah.
How many participants today, Abhijit?
We have
Ma'am,
around
so
319 registered participants. Yet
Wow.
to see how many joined today.
So far we
That's a
have
good
almost
response.
60. Yeah, so far we have almost 60, but the numbers are climbing.
Yeah. People
Nice.
actually, some of my friends from USA, they are in different time zones, so they were just asking. So I tell them India 7:30. Now you calculate your time difference and plan your day accordingly.
Yeah, right.
So what is the expected outcome of this particular event you have in mind?
Atul, you want to explain it?
So it was mostly to get a given to an understanding to the participants who are planning to basically apply for this fellowship again. So they get a good idea of how to prepare for this application and how to approach a hosting institute and what to expect in the whole process, and we also want to give them an understanding about before the grant and after the grant what happens, and learn from the people, the three different perspectives, from the perspective of an applicant, from the perspective of the host institute, and from the funding agency. So put together, it would give all the applicants a very good idea of what this grant is and how to prepare for it. That was the idea with which we are going with.
Right, got it.
Dr. Murthy, this year also 3-4 people joined MET. I remember it. Some in Calcutta, some
Yes.
in UP. I mean,
Yes.
in the Noida campus.
Somebody in Rajasthan, Mumbai campus. We have distributed to all campuses.
Right.
Because we have 11 universities, no? So at least in 6 of them, our people are more than 3, almost 3 dozens. Ramalingaswami Re-entry Fellowship.
I know.
And thanks to Meenakshi and Sci-ROI and Sci-ROI.
I think it's 10 o'clock, sir. So we can start right now.
Yeah, we have time. We're in time. Yeah.
Manali, are we ready?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. We extend a very warm welcome to all the participants and the panelists to this grant writing workshop. Today, the workshop will be co-hosted by me, Atul Gopal, a postdoc at National Institute of Health, and Dr. Abhijit Banik, a postdoc from Emory University. The transition fellowships provided by the different funding agencies from India have been a lifeline to many postdocs and graduate students to fulfill their dream of returning to India. So we at Sci-ROI thought an in-depth workshop regarding these transition fellowships would be very useful for our members. Earlier this year, in April, we conducted the first part of this workshop series and took an in-depth dive into the DST Inspire Fellowship and was well received by our members. The video recordings of this workshop are available on our website. In the second part of the grant writing series, we will focus on the Ramalingaswami Fellowship provided by the Department of Biotechnology. We hope to understand this fellowship from 3 perspectives. First, from the perspective of an applicant, second, from that of a host institute, and third, from that of a funding agency. Today, we will accomplish this with 2 presentations by the faculties who have been previously awarded the Ramalingaswami Fellowship. In their presentations, they will take us through the application procedure and provide us crucial information regarding the grant writing process. These presentations will be followed by a panel discussion, which will be attended by representatives from the host institute and a former DBT advisor, in addition to the 2 awardees. So before we start, let me request the participants to put their questions into the Q&A box. We volunteers are monitoring this and will ask these questions to the panelists. Since we might not be able to answer all the questions live, we also request the panelists to answer some of them via the Q&A box. So let us, before we start, let us do a poll. Manali, can you pull the poll now? It will appear on your screen now. Thank you, Manali. While the poll is going on, let me introduce our first speaker, Dr. Anil Tiwari, Scientist D from Dr. Shroff's Charity Eye Hospital, Delhi. Dr. Tiwari received his PhD from PGIMR Chandigarh in the field of protein engineering, cell biology, and molecular biology in 2015. Then he moved on to the Department of Ophthalmology at the University of Pittsburgh as a postdoctoral researcher, where he received training in ocular biology for 4 years. Dr. Tiwari is interested in understanding the dynamic gene expression and epigenetic profile associated with the healthy and diseased state of the eye. He received the Ramalingaswami Re-entry Fellowship in 2020 and joined Dr. Shroff's Charity Eye Hospital as scientist team. Without further ado, let me welcome Dr. Tiwari to share with us his recent experience of applying to the Ramalingaswami Fellowship. Dr. Tiwari, you may share your screen now.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, you might have to go to the full screen mode now.
Yeah, now everything is visible, nothing is cutting off.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity, Sci-ROI and DBT for awarding me Ramalinga Fellowship. Ma'am for telling me the good news, Dr. Meenakshi Munshi, because she was the one who mailed it and it was so, wow, I got it. And Dr. Shroff Charity Eye Hospital for being the host institute, we gave me the opportunity to write the grant. And without any delay, I will just go to next term. My journey, I had a very simple and journey. Like I did my BSc with Bachelor in Sciences from Banaras Hindu University, then moved to MSc from Goa University through JNU. Then I did my PhD from Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, PGIMR Chandigarh, in ophthalmology only, which was mainly focused on protein engineering and cell biology, as Atul mentioned. And then I immediately moved to postdoc in Department of Ophthalmology, University of Pittsburgh. So I was having an advantage that my PhD and postdoc was in the same subject. And so it accounted almost 10 years of experience in the same field. So in the discussion, we'll be going through all the points one by one so that we don't have to deviate much from what we want to present to the viewers. And these are the content of the discussion points. I'll be taking one by one. So why did I choose to apply for DBT Ramalinga Re-entry Fellowship? See, this question can go to anyone. Why should I apply for it? So the thing is that DBT, this scheme is very interesting and it gives you a lot of opportunity to come back to India. It gives you your salary for 5 years. It gives you a good grant to start your experiments and research labs. At the same time, it attracts, once you get it, you get attention of many universities and institutes which ask you to be their candidate and apply them as a host institute. Luckily, I was lucky that I had this Dr. Shroff Charity Eye Hospital who approached me before and gave me the opportunity to write Ramalinga Fellowship. But the main question is what suits our need? There are many re-entry fellowship which we can go for. But for me, it was like that since I already having a position like tentative position in India, I was not eligible for many of the fellowships like Ramanujan and others. I was not eligible for DST Inspire faculty position because I crossed the age of 32. And then there are some other agencies where I would plan to move to India in October 2020 and deadlines, like they had already crossed the deadlines or there are something which you can write while you are in US. So DBT was the one, Ramalingaswami was the one which was perfectly suiting my eligibility criteria. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me to write it. And the good thing is that we submitted the grant on 15th, last date was 15th of November, and the result was out by 31st of March, which is an excellent timeline, like not even 5 months. So anybody who is joining within 6 months, you will have a news that we got it or not. So this helps me in my favor because I was eagerly looking to have something to start and some conceptualized idea to start of my own. So I have shared a link which will have the guidelines for candidates who are interested, and they can go in detail for that and have an information. And they are free to write to any of the DBT associate personalized scientists and scientists who are dealing with the Ramalinga Fellowship. And trust me, I can say that you will always get reply to what you write. Next is eligibility and other details. As I've shown that these are the websites you can go for the eligibility. The most important thing of eligibility is that you should have completed 3 years of your post PhD experience. Out of that, 2 years should be out of India. It can be in US, you can be in Europe, any part of the country out of India. And those who have already returned, you have 1 year of calendar year to write for that. Like suppose if you are returned in January, you have a full year to write for that and you can get it. So you get this full, like in many of the funding agencies, you don't have that opportunity. Another thing, the age bar is 45, which accommodates many of the postdoc candidates, because we know that when we are in US, we go for multiple postdocs also, like 2 postdocs. So sometime unknowingly or knowingly, we cross that age gap scale, which will fit most of the re-entry fellowships. So the timeline for the proposal writing, it is a very important thing that if you are having something in your mind that you have to determine when you want to return, and then you want to return, you should voraciously look that what are the opportunities you can apply for when you go to India. So the first is when to start the process. Grant writing is a very tedious process because we are trained to do experiments on the bench. But when it comes to writing, we always take a back seat. So this is the time we have to come in front and explore our grantsmanship. So you have to be imaginative, but not over ambitious. You have to think of the situation which is rational, scientific, and doable. So there are a few questions: why you want to do it, and whether can you do it. If you answer this question, it is very good. So when to start the process? I will advise you to write 3 to 4. Start your building the castle 3 to 4 months beforehand, so that by the time you know that DBT Ramalingaswami is generally open in early September. So you will have, I will say that you start from say June, so that you can have sufficient time to go for multiple revision and other processes which you want to do. How long to work on it? I said 3 to 4 months is sufficient to work, because whatever you write from your side, you will not always be satisfied with what you are writing. The moment you read, there will be always a point which will say that you need to work on it a bit more. So that doesn't come that it is perfect. So you have to come to a point where you can say, no, it is baked enough to go. If I further work on it, it will be overbacked. How long after submission results announced? As I say that the last date was November 15th and result was announced by 31st of March. So you can say that it is just 4.5 months take. On an average, we can say 5 months is sufficient. How long did it take to get appointed? So they give you 9 months time period within which you can avail this. For people who are still in US, you can have sufficient time to look for the suitable host institute after getting it if you feel that you want to change the host institute. Another thing, and do all the process and paperwork. So you have sufficient time to work on when to be appointed and avail the fellowship. Research proposal, how to conceptualize the research idea. So it depends, you have done PhD in some subject, and like mine was, I continued my ophthalmology training from PhD to postdoc. But other thing was I changed the gear. Initially it was protein engineering and cell biology. Next it was more of a developmental biology of ocular, like looking on how the eyes develop. So you have to choose which one you feel you want to take, or you want to take a midway. Like you want to combine your PhD and postdoc and come with a novel, innovative idea. Continue my PhD postdoc work or propose to start a fresh project. It's totally your choice. But you have to see that you are not overstepping your postdoc boss or your PhD boss. So talk to them, see that what you can take with them, like take with you, because there are some points which you like to work from a postdoc and you return to India and you like to work on. That is good. Consult with your boss. Like I did my consult with my boss, and he said, whatever part you want to take, you can take it. I'm open for that. Talk to a PhD boss also that what are the parts, some reagents and other things which you will be trying to use it, whether she's or he's comfortable. And it's always good to talk on that. But I took another thing. I started a fresh project. Having the initiative from like ideas from a PhD postdoc, I totally moved to stem cell biology, which was even new to me. But I made sure that whatever techniques, whatever the concepts I'm providing, I'm sufficient enough to do that. I had a well training and published records of that. Adapt my proposal in the context of current Indians research. Yes, definitely you have to, because there are lots of limitations when you come back to India. Its limitation is not that somebody is going to stop you because of like most of the things are coming from us, like most of the transgenic element facilities, which we can't maintain it. It's expensive. So you have to always design your project with respect to where you are doing your work, whether that thing is feasible in the context of your research environment or not. Because if I propose something which is way beyond, and doing that will take a lot of my time and will not be able to deliver my result, that is something we should avoid it. Detailed proposal, it is a well defined on the website of DBT if you open it, that what proposals you are going to write it. Yes, you have to plan for 5 years, you have to read Gantt charts, you have to write that you will be doing in 5 years, but at the same time you have to make sure that there are many things coming up with, like right, when you are doing Ramalinga Fellowship, it's not only doing experiments, you have to guide students where you're taking, you have to go for conferences, you have to write papers, you have to publish it, you have to write other grants. So target a thing which is achievable. Don't target anything which is not achievable. Does the proposal need preliminary data or can be exploratory? It can be exploratory. Preliminary data, yes and no. It's up to you. You can always cite your paper and that can show that you have done it. You don't need to have fresh preliminary data, but citing paper will always be acting as a supporting you that whatever you're proposing in your proposal. No, not at all. An alternative hypothesis needed for the proposal. It's not necessary, but yes, you can always have a statement there that what are the anticipated problems you are going to have and what are the outcomes. But you don't need to. You should be sticking to your hypothesis because that you always derive from what you have done and what you have PhD and postdoc. Do you get reviewed by an expert before submission? I did expert in the sense what I mean here is that always write your proposal and circulate with the known whom you have more confident, who have already established their careers, your seniors or senior faculties, and try to get it reviewed. That sometimes when we write, we miss some small things which may be the crucial step in deciding the grants. So get it reviewed as much as possible. And that's the reason I said start working from like 3 to 4 months in advance so that you can give some 10-15 days for a person to whatever senior or faculties are in taking in confidence to review it, you will get it and you can do that. Yeah. So what are the additional documents you need? There are few additional documents needed in Ramalinga Fellowship. That is reference letter. There is no preference for Indian or foreign recommenders. Always choose your recommender who can give you good recommendation. Definitely your PhD boss. That's come to the point that don't burn your bridges with anybody you are connected. Like don't burn your bridges with PhD boss. Don't burn your bridges with your postdoc boss. Definitely, if your PhD and postdoc are giving you a good recommendation, that helps a lot. Third recommender, you can choose whom you work with. That adds it. It's not, there is no preference for whether it should be an Indian or American or a European. Budget, DBT Ramalinga RLS Fellowship has their defined budget, so you don't have to work on budget. Teaching statement, do you need to teach? It depends upon the host university, which is hosting you. Like I'm in a totally clinical and research department where we are setting up the research department and we are totally dedicated for research. Yes, there are some teaching modules, but that is just related to research only, like research techniques or research methodology, which we teach to the clinician to train them as a clinician scientist. Approved list of research faculty, DBT doesn't ask, but they need a letter of support from the host institute that when the person candidate gets this fellowship, you will be allowing all the possible facilities to be accessible by the candidate. And that means that you are eligible to use all the facility in the hosting, but you don't have to additionally mention in the proposal. Another thing is that you have to get your 5 copies of best publications, which you have to attach along with paper, proposal, and your date of birth certificate. And another, if you have returned to India, then you have to provide the proof by the passport copy that show that stamp passport that show that yes, you have returned to India, and which is just within 1 year. An additional document from institute like mine was that that it is a private institute, to make sure that the institute is DSR certified or not. That is very important. How and when to approach the host institute? So it is a question when you plan to return to India. When you plan to return, it's a tough job. You have to make a call whether you want to return to India. If you are returned to India, whether you have a backup plans or not that. So it's after completing 3 years of my postdoc, I was like, now this is much. The required condition I feel, now I should start applying in India. So luckily it happened that I went to a conference. I met the director of the institute, and he offered that whether you want to return to India, if you return to India, we have a position. We are setting up the research department. We'll give you whatever you need. Say yes or no. You take your time. So it worked for me. And I say that once you have decided, start writing to different directors, writing to different institutes. Don't stick to only government institutes. Go stick to other private funding agencies and private institutes also. Because nowadays we are changing. India is changing. There are lots of research going on in new university and institutes. So don't undermine it. And moreover, research is your own forte. You can do it if you want to do it. Do we need to tune your proposal based on the infrastructure at the host institute? Definitely. Tune it to the 50 to 60%, because you cannot run around the city or states or countries to do your work. There is 5 years of timeline, you have limited budget, so you have to do your work within that period of time as well as that budget. So it's important that you should know where you are moving and what facilities host institute is providing, and whether also if it is a institute which is offering you coming, bargain like what you do it in US. That what are the seed money they are going to give you, what are the instruments you are allowed to buy, what is the level of facilities you'll be getting. If the facility is not there, whether they are going to help you in setting the facility. This was the thing which I discussed with my director, and he was very flexible, and he said that yes, we'll provide you everything. They provided seed money, and that helped in my favor. And thankfully, with the grace of God, I have been able to set up my library with some of the instruments and started my experimental part. During the fellowship, can we use the facilities of another faculty members in the department? I think Dr. Kapoor will be the best to answer. This is the questionnaire for that I just mentioned it. But I believe, yes, you can, because your department of head of the institute has given the letter, so you're eligible to use all the facilities. But do let people know that you are going to use it. Can you use the facilities another department or other institute? Yes, you can. You can always collaborate with that. DPT never stops you. It always promotes collaborations and asks you to even contact other DBT institutes, because your work should be done. I have collaborations with some of the institutes like AIMS and other, where I'm using their facilities initially whenever I'm needed. Can we collaborate inside, outside the institute? That is always good to collaborate. Like I am collaborating with Dabur Research Foundation for my animal works. Dr. Shroff is actively involved in that, because we don't have any facility. That doesn't mean that I will not do animal work. I will do it. For that, I'm collaborating it. And they are really helpful. They have their own infrastructure, which we can utilize to our benefit. So if collaborations outside, inside institute is helping you, go for it. Talk to them, explain your situation. If your budget is limiting, talk to them whether they can be part of the project, and you can give the acknowledgement. Self and hard. Like, so my overall message to everyone is that self-belief and hard work. You have to believe in yourself that you can do it. And if you believe in yourself, you will do it. And first of all, you have to self-believe that you want to go to India. If you want to go to India, then you can do your hard work. So what are the things which one should do during postdoc and PhD? Networking. It's very, very important in networking. Go to conferences, go to the meetings, talk to people boldly. You don't have to overshow yourself, but you have to show that what you know. You are actively looking for the position. Let the people know that you are in a need of a position, you want moving to India, so that they can design things according to you. Or if they have an opening, they can consider your candidature. Conference and meetings are the best. This helped me. So trust me, if you go, showcase your results, showcase your potential, people will come to you and talk to you. Identify potential institutes. Start writing to institute. Whenever you visit India, which we do in a year and 2 year gaps, write to them in advance, go to them, ask for that you are going to present your work, and see that your work and the host institutes are in you can complement each other, and whether that host institute can be other potential host institute. And be open. Talk to them that you are looking for position, whether your institute is going to support me, and whether I can write any re-entry fellowship for that. Communication, open. Like if you have any queries related to fellowships, institute, how to write it, talk to it. Like I talked to Meenakshi ma'am when I was just confused that whether when I return to India, whether I can write it or not. And she replied instantly, yes, you can write it. You have a time of 1 year. Then like how to start it. I identify few successful candidates who were awarded in past. I wrote them and I said that this is my plan. Can you help me? And they said, yes, we'll help you. They guided me. Okay, Anil, write like that. They used to, this is the format. You should go for that. They even, some of them even shared like not the complete, a partial synopsis that this should be like that. So go for the successful application and also know what not to write. So talk to people who are not awarded also. That helps. And other thing is rational thinking and publication. That is key to success in science. If you have a rational scientific technique, thinking, and if your publication record is good, you're productive, publishing good, then definitely you are bound to have success. And success waits. You may see some failures, but definitely each steps count. So don't get demotivated. Just try by yourself, and you always get what you want. Thank you, and my email ID is there, so feel free to write to me, get back to me for any queries. I have been helped by my seniors, my colleagues, my friends who are totally unknown to me, and I'm open for help for anything you need it. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
Anil.
shall I stop
Yep.
sharing?
Yes, you can. Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Tiwari, for a wonderful talk. And I'm sure by now many of our participants' questions you have answered, and they will be very informative and useful when they go and apply for this fellowship in future.
Yeah,
So
thanks to you.
at this
Enjoying
point,
your Sci-ROI.
sorry. Yeah. So at this point, may I request our attendees to post all of their questions in the question and answer box instead of the chat box, because in the chat box they get buried in so many chats and questions. So we will only take up the questions which are put in the questions and answer box. So please do consider that. So here I now introduce our next speaker, Dr. Shobna Kapoor, who is an associate professor at IIT Mumbai. Thank you, Dr. Shobna, for joining us today. I hear some background noise. Sorry. So yeah, so after completing her master's from IISc Bangalore, Dr. Kapoor attended Max Planck Institute of Molecular Physiology at Dortmund to obtain her PhD in biophysics. She worked on the biophysical characterization of interactions between oncogenic RAS proteins and biomembranes. Further, she carried out her postdoctoral training at Max Planck Institute of Molecular Physiology and Chemical Biology Department for 7 years before moving back to India as an assistant professor at the Department of Chemistry, IIT Bombay. Dr. Kapoor received Ramalingaswami Fellowship in 2017 and further successfully transitioned into the role of an associate professor at IIT Bombay. Now let us hear her experience of applying to the Ramalingaswami Fellowship, and since she is one of the senior awardee, I'm sure she will touch upon many other points in the application process. Dr. Kapoor, the stage is all yours now.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all for organizing this wonderful, extraordinary session. I do not know if something like this is there in Europe. It would have surely benefited me and other people who are in Europe. So maybe I will try to get this thing at least to my peers. Then I thank, of course, heartfully DBT and Dr. Munshi for giving me an opportunity and believing in me that I can, do research. And I hope that I keep your confidence alive. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. The first thing is, yes, I'm my name is Shobna Kapoor. I'm at the Department of Chemistry at IIT Bombay. Let me first start with giving a little bit about, telling a little bit about myself, which already has been covered. So yes, I am a RLS fellow, and I was awarded the same in 2017-18 calendar year. I am a chemist by training, and then during my PhD, I did in vitro work on protein membrane interaction, so biophysical chemistry. Then I stayed back in Germany, and I changed my gear and moved into cell biology. Because at that point of time, I had thought that when I want to have my own group, I would like to, have at least 2-3 different fields of work in which, I can envision myself. Then I joined IIT Bombay in 2017 at the time of writing the application, and I was on probation, and then assistant professor during my tenure of the Ramalingaswami Fellowship, and recently I have been promoted to an associate professor. So in the last 4.5 years of IIT, at my stay at IIT Bombay, we have developed a group in membrane biophysics and chemical biology. And before going into the technical presentation, I just want to give a glimpse of what I have accomplished with the help of DBT, Ramalingaswamy Fellowship award that had been given to me. So yeah. So we work on lipids from mycobacteria, and we use basically the lipids which are in the outermost layer of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And we use a combination of different techniques like cell biology, biophysics, imaging, spectroscopy. Do I have all the instruments in my lab? No. So that means I have to collaborate, and I have to, use facilities which are there within the institute or outside the institute. And the question that we are trying to answer is, how do bacterial lipids function during infection? And we have found a couple of interesting findings, which I will keep it for a later stage. The next theme of research that we work is again using lipids, but instead of understanding their role in pathogenesis, we try to understand in a more global scale their membrane properties. So this is something you can say my interest that I had or my expertise that I had gained during my PhD, where I worked on biomembranes, and I I would say that I extended the expertise that I had gained during my time in PhD and applied it to a completely novel system. So we use different techniques again, and we try to understand what is the kind of membrane structure of these microorganisms, and how do they interfere in drug resistance and survival. And again, we have shown that there is very peculiar membrane properties given by these membranes of these microorganisms, which can have a very huge impact on bacterial physiology as well as the infection. And the last one is something that I am now starting, which is basically working in organic synthesis. So I am, as I said, I'm a chemist by training, but not a synthetic organic chemist. But I have to say that the experience that you get and the networking that you do, it definitely instills in you confidence that if you really believe you want to, channel your energy and thoughts into a different field, it's never too late to start something new. And we work, as I said, again on lipids, but we make synthetic analogs in the labs. And the question that we are trying to understand is where these lipids go inside a human cell during the course of infection. And we use different techniques, mainly proteomics, to understand that question. So with this, let me come to the fellowship application, and a couple of questions that were that I saw and tried to pen down was why should you apply for this fellowship? So first of all, it is a prestigious fellowship to have on your resume. It definitely gives you a platform to start your research. As was rightly said before, that this particular scheme of DBT is very fast in its outcome, which is very important, because when you come back to, from abroad, US or Europe or wherever, back to India, you have that burning desire to keep on churning, keep on doing experiments and churning results. And suddenly there is a period of low activity, because you are transitioning, you have come back to India, and suddenly feels very difficult at times that I will not be able to survive in this environment. Nothing is available, so on and so forth. And that is why having a fellowship or a grant that gives you very fast the platform to start initiating your research is very, very important. The other thing that it also helps is that every penny counts for your research, which is very important. I have had a number of questions that it's not a very huge, core grant. But again, when you're starting your group, if you expect from day one, I would have an electron microscope in my group, or I will have a super resolution microscope in my group, that is not going to happen. You have to scavenge what is available, where it is available, and mainly what you need money in biology is for consumables. And I have felt that this particular fellowship gives you a lot of freedom in trying to set up your lab. Be it buying small equipments like a vortex. I mean, everyone will be thinking about very, high cost equipments, but we forget that when we are, working in a lab, we need very, very small equipments, like a vortexer or a water bath or a lyophilizer. And that, this particular fellowship and grant gives you that flexibility in setting up your lab at the very, very initial stages, and start to shape your ideas with which you can then also apply to other grants. So as I said, every penny counts for the research. Who else is out there in India to give money? So of course you have DBT, we have SERB, DST, we have BRNS, ICMR, so on and so forth. And it can, you can write proposals which can be starting, as low as 10 lakh to as high as 70 lakhs, sometimes even up to a couple of crores also can be funded depending upon your proposal. But again, if you're expecting that your first proposal that you're going to write will be of 2 crores, that might be too, I mean, of course you can get it, but it will be too, I would say, you would be very, 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 you will have to be very lucky. And in order to kind of aim for these, kinds of, let's say, grants, to have such principal amount with which you can actually buy major equipments that you need, then you definitely need to prove that you are capable of thinking independently. Your ideas can, transition from a bench to a publication, and you are able to also communicate your findings to the scientific community in the form of publications, and that actually sets the stage. So again, this fellowship enables you to do that, to test your hypothesis, to start initiating the experiments that you think may or may not work, and to set the stage for applying to other grants. Fine. What are the other, yeah, sorry.
If you could hold your mic a little away from your.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Okay. So as I said, it also sets the stage for applying to other DBT grants. Other DBT grants are, of course, DBT core grants. Once you are in the Indian system, you are also eligible for DBT and international grants. For example, DBT US, DBT Scotland, or Norway, Denmark, Europe. Different kinds of platforms are available, and of course. You are also eligible for India Alliance DBT Fellowship, Trust Fellowship. And again, in order to apply for these grants, which are, let's say, a much higher principal amount, you need to have done something to prove that you are capable of thinking independently and are able to design, or let's say not design, I would say ask a very relevant question in research. That is important. Of course, networking among other fellows, that is also very important. So I remember when I went to give my second year progress in person before the COVID outbreak, that time I met much, in person, I met many other fellows from different parts of the country who had, who were all RLS fellows. And I think so that really helped in networking and identifying, potential collaborators. So of course, collaboration is good. Because if you expect you can do everything on your own, again, it is possible, but it will be much more time consuming. So it's always better to network. And this, fellowship, in terms of having these annual review meetings, it enables you to meet and network among other fellows in a very warm gathering, and provides enough time for the fellows to interact and share their, let's say, ideas and results. So let me come to the research grant writing. So first question is research proposal. Some of the questions that were there is, how do you conceptualize the idea? Do you continue your PhD postdoc work? And the other questions which were also previously covered. So let me try to answer them in context of how, what, and when. So how do you conceptualize, an idea? How do you begin actually? So the point is that first you have to make up your mind that you would like to come to India, and you are, you can foresee yourself as an academician, as a researcher. Once that, feeling settles in, then you have to, of course, read a lot of papers, think, and correlate and be creative. When I mean correlate and be creative is, let's say that you are attending a talk, in your institute, from another group, from another field, but you are capable of understanding their field of science, and you are actually interested in their field of science. So you might be in a position to correlate your expertise with that particular field, and maybe come up with something or think about a problem, that needs to be addressed. So what I would say is, rather than idea conceptualization, it is the problem that you have to conceptualize, because ideas will follow. You have to first define a very specific problem which you would like to address with your expertise. That is the first, main goal. Of course, you should have the problem that you would decide should have a number of ideas, or let's say, objectives, which you can put in a bigger context. Of course, you can have a mix of both low and high risk. Of course, and listening to the talks in your department is very critical, to your group meetings, even talks of your collaborators, because that will enable you to broaden your horizon rather than keeping a very narrow vision. For example, to continue in the same field, if you're not listening to talks in other department, you will never be able to identify the critical gaps that exist, where, let's say, your input might be crucial. So you have to be open to identify those, gaps. Of course, you need to write, which is very important. When I mean by write means, even if you are in a train or having a coffee, or even you are partying on weekend, you have to keep your pocket idea book with you at all times. And it's not too much to ask, but it can happen that, suddenly something will, come to your mind, because you are in perspective, you're thinking about a talk that you had listened, day before yesterday, and then suddenly it will realize, oh, I think so, this can be done here. Now, that particular fleeting moment, you might be very excited, especially, when you are on a weekend having food or a couple of drinks, and if you are able to jot down those particular things, it will help you. So I used to have an idea book with me. Of course, if you ask me whether everything what I have written I have done, of course no, but it really helped me to channelize my thoughts when I was in a process of writing my proposal. Of course, when you are thinking about your problem or the idea, you need to know what is accessible easily in India, which means that on a weekend, you can just surf through different institutes, IITs, ISERs, IIC, any kind of institute, just randomly. Every institute has a, they have a portal on their webpage which gives or lists different kinds of research facilities that are available. And it would be good that you have that information in the backdrop of your mind when you are actually writing your proposal. It is important. You don't want to write first a proposal and then only realize, oh, I want to work with this fancy equipment, which is not there in India, easily accessible. Fine. So the next question is that, okay, how? I have tried to at least explain a little bit. Now, what do you write on? So can you have a blast from the past? Can you continue your PhD and postdoc work? Or you propose to start a fresh project? Well, there is no correct answer. There is yes, to both, as was also previously mentioned. And for example, in my case, I am trained in biophysics and in cell biology. And when I decided to write my proposal, I tried to venture into something which was new to me, which is infection biology, but I did not lose my, let's say, the firm footing that I had in cell biology and biophysics. What I mean by that is maybe the problem that I have identified is in a field which is different to my previous training, but the tools that I'm going to use are the ones in which I have been trained. So that is important. If you are able to do that, it is also taken positively, although if you continue your PhD and postdoc work, there is no harm in that, provided that you definitely seek permission from your mentor, be it PhD or postdoc supervisor, because we don't want to get into later on ethical concerns. And a lot of people do continue. Well, I mean, after all, we're all doing research. And if the research problem that you are working on for, let's say, last 3 years is quite important and really excites you, then you should definitely continue and contribute to that problem, even if you are coming back to India. Of course, I would suggest to tweak a problem a little bit so that it does not look as if you cannot think on your own. This is important, not, from, I would say in my experience, since now I have been last 4 years also on the other side of table, well, we are scrutinizing applicants for faculty position. And one of the questions that we definitely look at it is the research proposal very different or very, very similar to the previous, experience of the candidate, which is PhD and postdoc, because we would definitely, like to have someone who can think on their own. So that is quite important. So if you can tweak the problem, even if you're taking it from your previous experience, then I think so it would be good and would work in your favor. The other details, how lengthy and detailed the proposal should be, of course, it should last for more than 5 years. That is important. But of course, I mean, I can understand when you're writing a proposal, it's very difficult to envision what kind of experiments will I be doing after 5 years. Well, the idea is to have, at least, I would say that when you're writing a proposal, you should keep it concise yet detailed, but work on the objectives like milestones, which is very important, because milestones gives you an idea of what, specific objectives or mini task you would like to do in your first year, then second year, the third year. And then you will see that as you try to write in that respect, you are easily able to go up to 5 years and sometimes even more. And more than 5 years, you should have a component of like an outlook. Like if I'm able to accomplish whatever I have proposed in my first 5 years, then whatever might, chum out of that can actually be probed in years to follow. Now, my first proposal was extremely long. And the lesson that I learned was to keep it short and achievable goals. It was not the DBT RLS grant that by that time I had actually learned my lesson and kept, not a very lengthy proposal, because you have to also realize that somebody else is going to look at your proposal, and people who are going to judge are much more experienced. They would be able to know whether what all you have proposed, is achievable and in line with your expertise or not. Does the proposal need to have any preliminary data, or can it be exploratory? Well, it depends on your idea of your problem, what you propose. You can have preliminary data, but you can also be exploratory. However, it would be always advisable to have a mix of, as I said, objectives which can be accomplished. It's like, nobody's stopping you to dream big and work on a problem that is extremely difficult, but you have to realize that this is, the money from the government, taxpayers' money, and we have to also justify whatever we do every year. So that means that whatever be the problem or idea, you have to have certain specific objectives which are expected to work out, and your PhD and postdoc training would have, given you that kind of exposure already, whether this can happen. Do you get it reviewed by experts? Yes. Colleagues, your friends who are critical from the same field or a different field. You can also ask your supervisors. I did in my case, I asked my both PhD and postdoc supervisors to have a look and suggest. Of course, if they have time, so on and so forth, but it's always a good idea to get it reviewed by experts before submission. And you can always contact, previous year awardees as well for help. Fine. The next thing is when to apply. So I would suggest that, keeping in alignment with your pocket idea book, it is always good to start planning things at least a year or 6 months in advance. Because it will take time for the perfect, not perfect, but it will take time for a proper idea to conceptualize. You can always simultaneously work on a number of different kind of problems or different kind of ideas, and then you can see whether they can be combined in under a bigger, umbrella. I used to work full time on weekends, during weekdays, even in holidays, to work, because if you're in the lab working, then it's very difficult, to take your time off. So you have to, of course, plan your days and work in such a way that you are able to give some time on identifying the problem. So as I said, it's very easy to say that, you have to write a proposal, but the moment you open your Word file and you have to type that first letter, of course, you can write your, proposal template and everything, but that first sentence, or let's say the first 2 sentences, are the most difficult one to write on it's like writing a paper. You have everything, but you don't know how exactly should I start, because you want your, publication or your thesis to start, with the perfect words that you can imagine. So it would, you will keep on scrubbing through all these files. So at least plan 6 months to 1 year in advance. From the perspective of the fellowship, it is correctly said that DBT RLS takes is very, very fast in terms of submission and the result. As a result, it really, gives you a head start or a jump start for your career. Additional info that I would like to share is, do they prefer Indian recommenders? I mean, at least in 2017-18, it was not that strict. I don't know what is the situation now. I definitely had my recommenders. I got my recommendations from my PhD and postdoc supervisor. Teaching statement is not a mandate as such. It depends on where you are applying. So the host institute, you have to check their website and identify. Well, it is no surprise that if you're going to join an institute which is teaching cum research, you would need a teaching statement. Approved list of research facilities, it's usually, as I said, accessible, which you can easily go through. As I said, you can pick up a weekend while drinking coffee. You can just skim through the different institutes or the department in the institutes where you might fit in, and just go through the equipments and expertise, central facilities or departmental facilities that are available, which is also very important when you have to finalize your host institute. As I said, the equipments or abilities that are available in a host institute will not only dictate your proposal, but will also dictate where you're going to apply to them. Now, budget, how detailed it should be. Okay, before that, before and during the transition regarding the host institute, as I said, you have to identify host institute early and keep applying. Again, either you can apply directly through the director. In IIT case, at least I know that if you go to the website, you are specifically mentioned that you have to apply through the HODs. You have to tune your proposal based on the infrastructure, and during the tenure, keep looking for open positions if it's not a permanent position, either in the same or other institute. Does the host institute give you a preference during recruitment because you have joined already an RLS? So I don't know how to exactly answer that question, but what I can surely say is that if you have shown your competence in the past years working on your, RLS grant, you should definitely get an upper edge compared to other candidates, because you have already proven your worth by able to secure external funding and publishing. In terms of facilities, during the tenure, again, can you use facilities of another faculty member? Yes. So networking, a very happy, smiling, and trustworthy attitude and a responsible behavior definitely let's use them. And that also means the same attitude should percolate to your students as well. So you need to remember that when you will be joining, you can take students in this fellowship, and or you might get it from the institute. So it's not only how you work, but what kind of qualities or capabilities you instill in your students is also going to dictate how well you are able to access the facilities of another person. If you can collaborate inside and outside the institute during RLS and otherwise, yes, and you should definitely explore. It really helps to broaden your horizon as well when you collaborate with people who are from a different field of research. So I can tell you my experience that I kind of hunted a collaborator on the internet. And he is Chinese. He's from Wuhan, with all the controversy that is going around. It happened before the COVID outbreak. And it's been almost more than a year or even a 1.5 year. I have never seen him, which is now thinking of it in this virtual world. I can always have a Google meeting with him. But the point is that I identified a person who can do simulations on the kind of molecules I work with. I looked in literature, looked at the most recent paper that was published by a group, identified the corresponding author and emailed and just said, this is my name, this is my problem. I'm looking for a person who can collaborate. Are you interested? There's no harm in emailing a completely unknown person, and he agreed. And of course, you need to have a little bit trust, because I had to send my proposal, or let's say I had to share my idea to someone. You can get scooped, of course, but unless and until you try, you would not know. The last question is regard to budget, how detailed it should be. So for RLS, I think so it's a fixed budget. That is what I know. For every year, you have a fixed amount of budget that you can get. However, the flexibility you get with this fellowship is unprecedented. You can use it for equipments, you can use it for manpower, you can use it for traveling, you can use it for getting paid for doing some analysis in an industry or outside, and you can of course use it for your consumables. How detailed it should be and how realistic it should be, of course it should be realistic. This is just a snapshot of another grant that I had applied, and in general what kind of things you have to submit is whether you would like to buy a permanent equipment, whether you would like to have a manpower, which is a PhD or a postdoc, consumables, travel, and contingency and other cost. And you need to give justification. It is always good. Sometimes you might not have to give it in detail, but it's always good to write it in your proposal that you would like to buy whatever consumables for these kind of experiments, and these are the kind of materials you would like to buy. So this again depends on the kind of funding agency you are applying to, and it's always good to be a little more elaborate in this front rather than a hand-waving argument. So I think so with this, I'm almost at the end. I hope I did not take too much time. And yeah, I'm up for any questions that might be.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kapoor, for this insightful talk. I mean, that was really, really interesting, and it was so informative. You dissected so well the application process. I'm sure our attendees will be definitely benefited from that, threadbare discussion. So with this, we conclude the first part of this webinar, and now we'll move on to the panel discussion part, which is another important and intriguing session going to be. Before we start, let us do one more poll. And Manali, if you are ready with the poll question, this is the time to set it up.
Right. It. It's running. You can go ahead, Abhijit, if you would like.
Abhijit?
I think we lost him, Atul. So if you want
Okay,
to.
okay. So today, while the poll is going on, let me introduce the rest of the panelists. Today we have with us Dr. Meenakshi Munshi, a former advisor and scientist G at the Department of Biotechnology, and she was one of the key people instrumental in implementing the Ramalingaswami Fellowship. Dr. Munshi graduated with a PhD in botany from the University of Kashmir. She was a recipient of the prestigious Fulbright Fellowship and got her training at the University of California. Dr. Munshi has served as the director of DBT, the nodal officer for the Institute of Life Sciences, Bhubaneswar, the nodal officer for the Indo-Tunisia Joint Program for Cooperation, etc. She was a program head at the Human Resources Development and Infrastructure in the Department of Biotechnology. Welcome, ma'am. Next, we have two panelists to represent the host institutes, a private institute and a public institute. From the public institute, we have Dr. Vasuntarani Devanathan. She's an assistant professor at the Department of Biology, IISER Tirupati. Dr. Devanathan received her PhD in neuroscience from the Center for Molecular Neuroscience, University of Hamburg, Germany, and extensive postdoctoral training in Germany before joining the Indian Institute of Science and Education, Tirupati, as an assistant professor in 2015. Dr. Devanathan's lab at IISER focuses on the areas of cell signaling and neurodegeneration. She received the DST Women's Science Award, Kiran SORF, in 2015, and currently serves as the chair of the Student Affairs at IISER Tirupati and also deals with all the Re-entry Fellowship applicants. We also welcome Dr. W. Selvamurthy, President, Amity Science, Technology and Innovation Foundation, Amity University. Dr. Selvamurthy did his doctorate from Delhi University in 1982 and a Doctor of Science from Bangalore in 2006. He was also... Yeah. Sorry about that. He also was awarded Doctor of Science from 5 universities in recognition of his outstanding research and development contributions in life sciences. Dr. Selvamurthy has served the Defense Research and Development Organization, Government of India, for 40 years. He served as an expert member in different scientific boards for several government funding bodies such as DST, DBT, ICMR, and CSIR. In recognition of a significant contribution to biomedical research and development, he has been awarded several prestigious research awards, such as the CSIR National Award for Science and Technology Innovation, Lifetime Achievement from the Honorable President of India.
Hi, Atul. Yeah. Vasudha here. I think the slide didn't change to Dr. Selvam.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Thank you. Avijit, are you here now? I think we still have some problems. Abhijit still has some problems, so we'll just go ahead. I'm going to share the results of the poll now. So we asked, like, what do you think would be a major roadblock for your application? And we had some answers. And one of the major problem that our applicants think is that getting a sponsorship from the host institute. Oh. So hopefully we could discuss a little bit about this during our discussion and try to get some answers up for this. So for our panel discussion, we have divided it into 3 broad categories. The first one is regarding the processes of grant writing and evaluation of the grant. And we would also request the participant again to put your questions into the Q&A box. So as the first question, because as our participants have shown that it is regarding the host institute, getting a sponsorship from the host institute, let's take that question first. Dr. Selvamurthy, if you could give us some idea regarding this. Multiple qualified applicants will be approaching an institute to requesting to sponsor them. So a selection process is bound to happen by the host institute. What are some of the criteria used by the hosting institute to select a candidate?
Thank you, Dr. Atul. Very good morning to each and every one of you from the US and other parts of the western part of our globe. And also good evening for those who are joining from the East and including India. First of all, compliments to Sci-ROI for this very good initiative with the blessings from DBT, Department of Biotechnology. And I was so fascinated to hear the two awardees, brilliant. Dr. Shobna Kapoor, Dr. Anil Tiwari. Science is life. It's just not only you do science, you live science. That's what Shobna mentioned. And I'm sure we all emulate that. And I'm sure all Ramalingaswami fellows will emulate this. You are not there to do science, but you have to live science. When you are thinking, when you are partying, when you are sleeping, you still think about your science. That's great. So now coming to the host institution. See, today, India is in a vibrant position to absorb such brilliant talents coming from abroad. The institutions have grown, and in the private sector, a lot of universities have come. Industries need people. And so there's a great demand for the country to have such talented pool of scientists coming back after the experience in different parts of the world. So this DBT scheme, Ramalingaswami Fellowship, provides a great opportunity to bring back these talents who went through the portals of Indian education system at the early stage and then got experience abroad and then have to return back. They want to return back. So this is a very good opportunity. With regard to the host institution, in fact, the host institution who have experienced this talent pool, like Amity, today we have almost 36 of these Ramalingaswami fellows, Ramanujan fellows. I can vouch that these are cream of the people who have a proven track record of research, publications, some of them patents, and some of them have also developed deliverables in the form of product technology processes. So every host institution should be immensely pleased to receive, welcome, in fact, welcome with a gratitude that they are choosing your institution as a host institution. Because these are brilliant brains. Otherwise, they would not have first got selected there to do postdoc. So that itself proves their worth. And then the selection process for a Ramalingaswami Fellowship is very rigorous. So if you are able to go through that, the host institution should be able to receive, because they have been assessed through a very rigorous process of selection, and they are the cream. So the Ramalingaswami Fellowship scheme itself, if somebody is able to clear this and get the grant, that shows that their credentials in terms of publications, the impact of their research, and also the potentials in them to blossom as a future leaders in science and technology. So that is why every host institution will be very happy to receive. In fact, in Amity, as I said, 3 dozens of them are there in different campuses, because we have 11 universities in India and 17 campuses abroad. So we give them the choice. Where do you want to go? You want to go to Calcutta, Bombay, Raipur, Jaipur, Gwalior, or Delhi, which is Noida. So we give them an option so that they may like to be close to their families, their parents, perhaps. So this is an option we give. So the host institution, maybe the awareness is not there. But now this message is spreading that Ramalingaswami fellows are the brilliant people, and I'm sure there'll be every host institution will be very willing to take them in. And then how do you groom them? Because that is important. The host institution, it is just not only receive them, but then how do you nurture? Because this is only a seed with tremendous potential. How it is nurtured with the facilities, ecosystem, support, and also the motivation, incentives, motivation, inspiration. What you get from the host institution is important if they have to blossom as the future leaders. So that is what I will tell you now. So don't worry, host institution. Today, Amity has set a goal. Dr. Ashok Chauhan, the founder president, has said, next 5 years, we have to bring 500 of this is known as 4B. 4B is bring best brilliant brains to Amity. So Amity will be delighted to host most of you, because that is what we are looking at. And so this is what I'll tell you, Atul, for the initial opening remarks. But the host institution will be delighted to welcome you, but you have to choose the right host institution where your potentials match with what they do, what the facilities. Shobna mentioned about this, that whether you will be able to execute your ideas and the scope of the fellowship scheme in that institution. Do you have a mentor? Because it's just not only you are alone. You should have a team to guide you, mentor you, criticize you. So you must look for an institution where the group is there. And your field of interest. Then the facilities, at least the basic fundamental research infrastructure should be available to do your research over there.
Thank you, Dr. Selvamurthy.
Unique in terms of your potentials. So will your potentials be utilized to blossom, awaken the Kundalini Shakti in you? So that has to be seen when you are choosing the host institution. Thank you so much.
Avijit? You're muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. There was some connection issue with my internet here, but all good now. And thank you, Atul, for taking it up. So, thank you, Dr. Selvamurthy, for this wonderful insight. But we would also like to know the point of view of Dr. Vasudha on a public institute like ICER. And what is your opinion on this question?
Yeah. So I think, in fact, in the chat box also, one of the strong questions that we can see is about host institutes. And I can also notice that the concern is very valid. I mean, even at ICER Tirupati, for instance, the last round when we had opened up the applications, as you might know, the numbers are always high. So it's the number of positions versus number of people wanting to come back is not equal. So there is this demand and supply connection issue. This is existing, and that's why people have a problem getting host institute essentially. But even at ICER Tirupati, I think about 16 biology faculty, one came with the Ramalinga Fellowship, 3 of them came back and then applied and secured. So it's like the percentage is good with respect to the number of faculty and the number of Ramalinga fellowships, or Ramanujan, the other things also, for instance, and just extending it to all the fellowships per se. So therefore, it's a little tricky, of course, to get to know people. But sometimes if the top-down approach doesn't work, let's say you write to the director or to the chair, being in the ecosystem, I can tell you they're handling really a lot of things, and the gears shift that they have to take care is a lot. So sometimes even bottom-up approach is not too bad. You may not get the right information in the beginning. Like you reach out to, I get mails if somebody is a neuroscientist and wanting or interested in ICER Tirupati, then I sort of
I think
lost the connection.
There is a
Like,
yeah, I think we can move on to our next question probably. She might.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So yeah, if you all can hear me, so my next question is to Dr. Munshi, and this is regarding the perspective of DBT on the successful applications, and the question is, what are some of the major factors in a candidate's application that you think that might result in a favorable decision from the DBT? I understand it's a little critical question to answer being at the other side, but your insight definitely will be helpful for our future applicants.
at the outset, I would like to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity. Although I have been attending these meetings regularly, but this year I thought, since I'm out of the system, I may not be attending this. But at the last moment, I was being asked to attend, and I readily agreed. Thank you so much. And see what happens. Applications are looked on the whole. It's not only your publication, your proposal, your master's, PhD, or a postdoc. The experts look at the application as a package. And many times we have also realized, the applicant who has come submitted a proposal, they the aim of these fellows, of course, even if I am a candidate, is that somehow I must get this fellowship. But what is happening? We write very ambitious projects, and then who looks at these projects? It is the scientists like you who are evaluating these projects. So they feel that these project proposals are not realistic. And I would urge all of you to be realistic with your proposal. First of all, I want to tell all of the potential fellows, see, this fellowship is not to give you the job. It is the time to give you as a buffering time of 5 years, so that you can, if you are interested in relocating, you can scout for the job. Being overseas, as you said, many of the times the directors or the top notch, who are at the helm of affairs, they are busy. You send them a mail, they do not respond. So this is what we thought when this fellowship was conceived way back in 2006-7. Then that time we really didn't know that if anybody wants to really come back. So we just throw an idea and see how it is taken by the other people. But gradually we learned, yes, people are interested. In fact, if you'll be surprised to know, in the beginning of the batches, we had a people who was 60 plus, and he had a good CV, so we did select that person. And in the initial years, then we realized, oh, the job opportunities are going to be an issue for these kind of candidates. And eventually, as we moved along, we reduced the age to 45. So the question is, it is not one thing which is looked into your application. It is the number of all the things together. We do look at the host institute, like whether you can do this research institute. We have an option of, you can change your host institute once. If you feel that you're not able to do the right kind of work there, then you come to India and look around for the job. Even Dr. Selvamurthy can tell you, many of the fellows who were working in other institutions, and once they came to India and they looked for the what is the best institute for them, and they went to the private institutes also, like MIT has taken. So it is a win-win situation for both, because what happens, we give the fellowship for 5 years and the research grant, and the institutes like MIT, they get a free a teacher or a researcher who has been given the salary for 5 years, but they can be their services can be utilized by the institution. So which works nicely for both the host institute as well as for the candidate. And there was a big question. Everybody wants to know what is the success rate. If the organizers feel that I can share some slides, if you feel I can share some slides with you, so that can give them a fair idea of what has been the trajectory since the initiation. Should I share some slides?
Sure, ma'am, you can.
If you have time, okay.
Sure.
So how do I go to the share? I have opened my...
It's below on the bottom ribbon. There is a share screen.
1 minute.
See the green color.
I have opened my slides. Okay, let me see. Okay, yeah.
On the bottom of your Zoom, there would be a green colored tab, which
okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, just click that and choose the
right window.
Yeah.
There you are.
There I am. So okay, fine. So somebody wanted to know. See, you all know what is the purpose of Ramalingaswami Fellowship. I don't think I need to really get into that. I have to put it in the slide mode. Is that okay? Okay. So, the objective is to bring back the Indian scientists. You have been hearing about it. And minimum, somebody had asked me if I'm doing BDS or MBBS, am I eligible? I said, yes. Your here degree could be PhD, MD with a minimum 3 years of postdoc, and should be an Indian national. It's very important. Upper age limit is 45 years. So what you get as a fellowship amount, 1 lakh rupees, and this is a house rent allowance of 18,500, and a research grant of 10 lakhs for first and second year, and 7.5 for next 2 years, and subsequently 5 lakh for the 5th year. And duration is 5 years. And if you don't get a job within those 5 years, you can get an extension of 2 years. And we select up to 75 fellows per year, and you can apply. So this I have already told. I don't want to talk about. Somebody asked me how many got selected. See, if you look at this table, this gives you an idea about, in the first batch, we selected 10 because we had no clue if anybody really wants to come back. As we moved along, we increased the number. It was 50 for a long time. And for the past 3-4 years, we have increased the number to 75. And even this year.
Excuse me, ma'am, just a second. We are not able to see your slides moving. I think we are in the presentation view problem.
Is the slide not moving? But
no, it is not. No.
Just click on those small slide windows, ma'am, on your left side. Just go to the current slide where you are right now.
This
Click
is on the. Okay. This one. Can you see the slide?
Still the same. The old one is what we are seeing.
Yeah, Dr. Munshi,
we can see the slide,
but not the presentation. So if you want to close the presentation view and just show the slides as they are and just keep them moving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's working.
So somebody asked me how many applications we receive and how many are selected. So if you look at this slide, I thought this will give a fairly idea how the number of applications increased gradually as we moved from 2007 onwards. And then you can see the number of fellows have been selected. We started with 10, 8 joined and 1 did not accept. This you can see where I am showing you this slide is some of the fellows who do get selected, but for some reason or other, maybe they get a better opportunity, they do not accept the fellowship, or they accept and later they do not join. But if you look at it, now another person was success rate. I'll come to that slide also, like how many got the job. I will try to move the slide. Okay, so this is the percentage of what they wanted to know, how many have got absorbed. If you look at, you may say why this is 100 and 100 and subsequently there are less, percentage is less. See, these are the first batches. See, each person gets 5 years of a window. So first 4 batches, all of them have got placed in the same institute or in the different institutes. And as we move subsequently, you'll see from 2011-12, now these graphs have changed. Some of them have more number of scientists have been able to get absorbed. But subsequently, as we move to the 15, 16, 17, because somebody is in the 3rd year, somebody is in the 4th year, somebody is in the 2nd year. So they're still, some of them have got the job, but some are definitely still scouting for the jobs. And if you want to see the state-wise distribution, of course, there are certain areas, certain states where you will see the densely population of these Ramalinga fellows like Delhi, Karnataka, Kerala. But now we have a spread across the country, excepting few states like Northeast. We have a less number of fellows only in the Manipur and Manipur University. And so we are trying to reach out to the other also.
Thank you, ma'am. I think this would answer the questions.
So that was the question. So this is what I thought. This will give a better idea as how they are progressing.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing the statistics with us.
Sure, I can stop it.
Yeah, stop the sharing. Now moving on, we would like to ask next question that was again from our participants was regarding the best ways to approach an institute to request a sponsorship. Do you have suggestions particularly for those applicants who have done their PhD and postdoc both abroad and do not have an active network back in India? Dr. Vasudha, Dr. Devnathan, you were touching upon that, so probably you can take this question.
Yeah. So I think that's where I was heading to. If also Dr. Meenakshi pointed that, right? If you write to directors and if you don't get a response, it's very, very normal, because seriously they are doing a lot of jobs, and a lot of institute, for instance, ICERs, right? We are actively teaching also. I mean, we have a student strength of about 2,000. One can't imagine the student-related problems that comes in, which need to be addressed, and the directors are also engaged actively in that. So I think when it is such a scenario, it's also good probably to look at the chairs of the department or dean faculty or any faculty in your area of research. So first you can write to them, and 95% faculty respond back, because we have come from abroad. We have been in your shoes some years ago. It's not like we didn't go through. So we know exactly. I mean, at times, even if it's one-liner, most of us respond back saying, please write back in 10 days time or something. So I would say find the right person who can help you, and don't feel bad that somebody didn't respond. And also sometimes I recognize the mails land in a junk box, which none of us fault. This happens. Even prospective PhD students write to me, and then they said, okay, I've been selected, I want to join your lab, I wrote to you, you didn't respond. And they somehow found my phone number and WhatsApp me. And I was like, where did you write to me? I didn't see. And then I went and digged it in the trash. This is the NIC email, because of so many layers of protection that we have nowadays. And therefore this is normal. So don't give up. Try to write. We are also in the STEM peers. We are into a lot of networks. So you.
Vasudha has an issue. I will add to what Vasudha said.
Should I approach? You should start approaching much before your application, because you will really align your thoughts with the host institute. Okay.
Dr. Atul, may I supplement what?
Sure, sir.
Yeah. See, we have evolved a very systematic process where we have established a separate section of 6 people, and Dr. Rajiv Sharma, who was earlier Secretary SERB, Science Engineering Research Board at Ministry of Science and Technology, heads this. And he has got a team of 6 people who addresses only these postdoc fellows, including coming through Ramalingaswami fellows, Ramanujam inspired faculty. And we first get the application from everyone who wants to apply for this. Then we screen at initial level. What is the profile of the candidate? We have put our own thresholds, like at least H index should be above 7, so that there's a proven track record of publication. So we have our own matrix system of thresholds. Then once the person is within the threshold, then we call for online interaction. The first thing is we chat with them. What do you want to do? What is the idea you want to implement through the Ramalingaswami Fellowship? So the online interaction takes place. Then we ask for a draft proposal to be sent to us. That is given to the right mentor, so that if it is in cancer, it goes to Dr. B.C. Das, who is an expert in the field. So he looks at it and adds value to the proposal. He puts his thought to the proposal. It's just not only what the candidate has given, it is refined, because he himself sits in various review boards and committees, sometimes as chairman, sometimes as members. So we have a pool of mentors in different disciplines, whether it's agriculture, Professor Ajit Verma. So like that, we have identified mentor who will review the draft proposal, suggest to the candidate, make these modifications, and this is how you write the grant. And then we add value to the draft proposal, send back to the candidate. Then the candidate refines it, puts it, and gives us host institution. So we give the NOC for applying it as a host institution. Then we also facilitate the submission, because hard copies are also to be submitted. So as host institution, online submission is done by the candidate, and host institution, we submit the hard copies to the DBT. Personally, our people go there and deliver it. So this kind of support is given at the initial stages itself. And then we give them 2 things. One is option, whether you want to go to which campus, that is one. Second is if spouse is also looking for an employment, even if they don't have a fellowship, we want the spouses to be together. So being a private university, we have that flexibility that we can also give a position, not in the same department, but we give it in another department for the same reasons that you are aware. So we administratively, they are put in a different place, even if there is an overlap of the areas. So we also look at spouses so that they are stable. Otherwise, somebody is working somewhere and here. So we want the family to be together. This is another. Then if they have a children, we also help them in also getting admission into schools. We also have schools in most of the campuses, most of the regions, but also otherwise we facilitate also getting admission of the school children. Then we also give them assurance that after you complete this tenure, we give you a job. So that you don't have to look for a job. After that, the mind is all the time ambiguous, uncertain about the future. So we also assure the job. Then the next thing is we also give them PhD scholars, and we also give them his enabling system to apply for grants. Like Dr. Pallavi, who is a Ramalingaswami Fellow, has 4 projects. The value is almost 2 crores. So she has brought 4 projects. So one Ramalingaswami Fellow bringing 2 crore worth 4 projects. I mean, amazing. That is the potential as a host institution. I'm so happy about this scheme as well as the benefit these people are bringing. And then we don't stop there. We also look at how do we enable them to start the research. So we give them the facilities. And also if it is not available, it is available in another campus. We also tie up with them in Amity campus itself. So we enable this. And every 6 months, there is a review. There again, we have a mechanism. There's a standing committee which reviews. So I think this is how we should groom this. And I'm sure most of the host institution will be doing. And being a private university, because I've been part of government for 40 years. So I know that system. If I have to make a job, if I have to create a position, how difficult it is, I know. But then in private, if somebody deserves, we can create a number of positions. And that to Amity as a growing institution. Now we are going to have one university in Bangalore, one has already come up in Mohali, we are looking one in Andhra Pradesh. So like this, once you are growing, we need people. So these people are also given more emphasis on research, but also teaching, so that they also have the ability to convey, disseminate the knowledge which they have generated, which they generate through research. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is
Thank you.
very
Thank
true,
you, Dr.
sir.
Subramanian.
I'll just add one word, Vijit. So I think this is something I also wanted to point out. For instance, Kriya University is coming up near Sri City. And, the vice chancellor who moved from Ashoka recently sends us some open positions. And I recognize that the potential in the private universities are really amazing. And we should also look at them as a potential institute, like ICERs or like any place, because it's not limiting at all. Currently, the newer system of private universities like Amity or Kriya or Ashoka, it's amazing. So I wanted to add this point. We should not limit ourselves to fewer ones. We have to open up to a lot of these new upcoming campuses also. Different aims have come up, different SRM has come up, and they're all hiring actually. And they will all take re-entry fellows.
That is also a national asset. That's also a national asset. Private universities.
Yes, sir. You're right.
I just want to add one more thing. See what happens. Mostly these national research institutions, how they take the application. So they will first call these potential candidates. They give a talk, and they feel if they are a best fit subsequently to be absorbed as a faculty. So they forward their applications, because they don't want a liability. They want an asset. That's how. And this doesn't happen in the university system. From my experience for more than 15 years or so, the more problems the fellows are getting is in the university system. Otherwise, in the research institutions, by and large, they're okay. But in the university system, in fact, when they joined, somebody said JRF, SRF, another fellow. I mean, that kind of treatment they got initially in the government university system. But gradually, now everybody is aware about this fellowship. But still, we have problems in the university system. I had a person, somebody who joined in Bihar. So he wanted a change because he said, I cannot do the kind of proposal I have put forth in the fellowship. So he asked for a change in the second institute. And as per guidelines, we said, okay, yes. And he got a permanent position. Now, again, he said, oh, there is this politics, that politics, I'm not able to do. But, we are also bound by the rules and regulations. We cannot change the host institution again and again. And then we said, you have an option, either you continue here or leave. So that is why my request to all the fellows is spend some time, although it may sound very trivial, but spend some time on the institution where you intend to go. Do they have a right kind of facilities? What you intend to do? And write a proposal which fits into their, the facilities what they are offering you. That is what you need to do, some groundwork.
Yeah, so on the same note, on the same note, I would like to add another angle to this discussion. Like, since we are talking about the opportunities academic institutes, or per se like the public or the private institutes, we have also seen that the RLS fellows can also approach the industries for sponsorship. So, Dr. Munshi, can you also
Let me,
please elaborate on that for our attendees? So that
till today, we haven't got anybody who has been selected for the industry. See, there are rules and regulations. I'll tell you, when Anil's case was being discussed, because so first thing in the
right.
government system is they have to have a DSI recognition. If only they are DSI recognized, then only they can be considered for the government funding. These are the issues here. See, with the private university, because they are under the act, and they are eligible to get, and they also have a DSI recognition.
Did you lose Dr. Munshi?
Am I not
Yeah,
eligible?
yeah, we are good. We are good. Yeah.
Okay.
We are
So,
audible. Yeah.
so the question is, they have to have this DSI recognition where they can receive the government funding. That is very important for the institution.
So I would also thank you, Dr. Munshi. I would also like to hear the perspective from Anil also, since you have already mentioned. So Anil, if you can hear me, can you also
Yeah.
share your experience when you are, I mean, it might be you are approaching, or might be Dr. Schaub's hospital's representative approaching you, and how that initial phase of discussion went on, that since they are being in the other side of the academics, what you want to add on to our attendees?
Yeah, so thank you, Abhijit, for that. So it was interesting when Shroff approached me. So at that time, Dr. Viren Samwan, who was a research director at LV Prasad, he moved to Dr. Shroff, and he was very interested in starting research department because he already did at LV Prasad. And being a clinician scientist, he's extremely interested in research. So he asked me that whether you want to move to India in a conference coming to my poster. And I said, yes, I know you. It will be wonderful to work with you. Then he openly said, we don't have infrastructure and we are building it. He explained me everything. Then I asked that what are the things, what are the prospects within coming 1 year? Because these are the fellowships I will like to apply when I'm going back to India. He said, Anil, we have a full-fledged collaborations with different facilities like DRA. We have other instruments, although some of the which will be needing initial fees like ophthalmic instrumentations. We have collaboration with industries. So don't worry about the fundings. You join us, we'll give you this amount of money for starting of the research. And they are to their words. Today, within now 8 or 9 months of joining, I have established cell culture lab, molecular biology labs, and all the lab possible. So yes, there was a phase of discussion with them that what I'm going to get, what will be my salary, what are the infrastructure. I more focused on the infrastructure. Then during my grant writing, there was a DSI certifications and all that. So that also I discussed with them, and whenever required, I presented that yes, I am eligible for the RLS fellowship also. That is why during my presentation I say that if any private institution is applying for it, if there is like a DSI certifications needed, keep that ready, or you check it where you are applying for. That's very, very important for any, not only for RLS, for SUB, for DST Inspire, for all like that. For me, transitioning to private institute has been very smooth and very fruitful. There is freedom to work. There are less hurdles. If I need something, I don't go have to do the typical system. If I want something, I just can go to my director and ask that, or I draft a letter to executive director, and they are very flexible in that. Even for all the applications, if I want to be the PI, if I want to collaborate with other clinical faculties, they are all open for it. We have recruited one more faculty. We are expanding, and just beside that, I just want to add to Dr. Selva-Murthy, Amity University. They have a very good cell. The day Ramalingaswami was announced, within 15 minutes, all the Ramalingaswami Fellowship received an offer from Amity University. That's a very good thing for people who have applied abroad. And many of my friends, 2, 3 friends who qualified, I suggested them, why don't you get in touch with MIT University? I know because I have a collaboration with MIT University, Haryana also with Dr. Vimal Kishore. So through that time, I know it. So yes, if anybody is thinking of going to private university,
really
go for it. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Anil.
That's really encouraging, Dr. Tiwari. Yeah, that's really encouraging. And I mean, I'm sure, our attendees must have, got another point of view that it's not the end of the road in the academics. You have got the opportunity beyond that. And there are so many different industries. And Dr. Munshi also specifically mentioned what to look for when you are looking beyond academics and apply for these fellowships. And Dr. Tiwari is the right example, the live example in front of us that it is possible. So there are opportunities, we must go on. And now we would like to move our discussion a little bit further from the pre-application to the post-application, basically the post-award phase. And for this one, my first question will be to Dr. Shobna. Uh, uh, and the question is like, the Ramalingaswami Fellowship has a generous salary support, but may not provide enough in the form of research money to finish your proposed work. I understand it gives you enough money to start with your preliminary work and establishing the pilot data for your going for the big grant in future, let's say. But how as a previous awardee, how did you tackle that issue? Do you have any suggestion for the new applicants, Dr.
Yes.
Shobna?
So yeah, thank you. So now the first and the main and only suggestion is that you need to know what are the facilities available in the host institute. As I said, it can be in your department or in another department. The way I wrote my proposal, I always kept that in mind. That with the money that I will get from the fellowship, I should be able to buy the minor equipments that are used on a routine basis. See, if I am, let's say, planning for a confocal microscopy experiment, I need to have dishes, I need to have cell culture media, I need to have all the antibiotics, I need to have a vortexer, incubator, so on and so forth. When I need to do a microscopy experiment, of course, I need a microscope, but I cannot buy that from this fellowship, but I have access to that in the central facility. Of course, if it's an institute central facility, it will take time. For example, we have a confocal microscope wherein we get 3-hour slot per week, twice or thrice a time, depending upon the students usage. Sometimes it happens that sometimes all the students want to book the slot, so a couple of months is really tight, and my students are a little frustrated, and myself as well, that we are not getting a slot. But I mean, apart from that, I don't think so there is any other solution to that. You need to identify the facilities, and sometimes you can also write to other faculty members who might have a particular equipment that you need. And what I realized is that it's always better to meet that particular person, person in person, like face to face. Let's say when I'm going for a tea, then I can ask very humbly that I would like to use this particular equipment. And what I also assured that person is that I will come with my student and do the measurement. Because of course, if I have bought an equipment of, let's say, 2 crore, I mean, it is like my baby. I would be very careful if somebody would come and start fiddling with the objective, and so even if I will, even if the person or another faculty is very good friend of mine, somehow I will have sleepless nights that their student is coming. It's not that I don't trust, but it's like you always think something can go wrong. And so I always assured in the initial first 2 years, I always went with my student to do the experiments if it had to be done in the equipment of another person in another department or in the same department. But in terms of money, as I said, that this fellowship is very good because it gives you the flexibility. You can buy minor equipments, you can buy consumable, and trust me, I mean, when you start your research work, of course, let's say if you're doing work or RNA or genome sequencing or something, nobody's going to give you money in the first year when you join any host institute. Take 5 crores and get your sequencer. You will need to prove your worth, but what you can do is you can figure out where you can get that sequencing done. There are a lot of industries who get that sequencing done, so you can use the money on sending your samples to some other state and do the sequencing and get your data. So that is the flexibility that this fellowship gives you, which is extremely important. I have a couple of other grants now And I have not seen that kind of flexibility, which is really, really important in your first, let's say 1 or 2 years. You don't have to every time take permission or anything. You are already told at the very beginning that you can use this fund for contingency, for traveling, for consumables, for minor equipment. If you want to buy if you want to buy, let's say, something of completely 10 lakh rupees, you also have the flexibility of doing that. Let's say you are getting, let's say you have usually a host institute maybe has provided you some other seed grant or something, and you want to just buy something of completely one major equipment, so you can do that. So that is in terms of money, I think so. As I said, every penny counts, and you will realize that when you come back to India, that every penny counts. I mean, of course, you should aim for as much as you can get, but
Thank you. Thank
think
you, Radhika.
worthwhile, of what you can use. Yeah.
I would like
Thank
to
you.
add to what Shobna said. Whosoever gets selected, in the meantime, they should immediately, they can submit a proposal, research proposal. And believe me, at least I can talk about DBT. We really encourage, oh, he's a Ramalinga fellow. Okay, start. We should encourage them and give them the grants so that they can build their group gradually. And networking is very, very important. As Shobna said, we have these conclaves every year, but unfortunately, because of the COVID, we could not have it. Otherwise, these are the fertile grounds where you can connect with not only with the fellows, but with the senior mentors. They also help you a lot in giving the advice, right kind of advice. So do some groundwork. I would suggest to the potential candidates, if you feel okay, see, you all know by and large where you stand. Even in the international, you have a good CV, you have good publication, you feel okay, I have 50, 60 or 70% chances. In the meantime, think through a proposal also which you feel you can carry out in that particular institute or the university where you intend to join. Little bit of groundwork will definitely help you in a positive manner.
Thank you, Dr. Munshi. You have kind of answered the question that we were about to ask. So just to clarify one more point to that, some of the Ramalingaswami Fellows are not in a tenured track system, right? They might not be tenured. So if that is the case, they can still apply for the DBT grants as principal investigators?
No, that they have to have a copia as a permanent faculty. You know what happens, why this clause is there. Suppose today you are working in an X institute and tomorrow you get a job in a Y institute. So what happens to this grant? So that is why there is a copia, has to be a permanent faculty in case you move out and this person is there to take care of the project.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying this. Dr. Selvaburthy, you have talked to us a lot about what are all different things that the hosting institute do for the Ramalingaswami Fellows, particularly for this aspect of to push forward their research, because the fellowship contingency money is not enough to do all their experiments. What does the hosting institute do in this case to support the RLS fellows?
First of all, as soon as a person gets the grant, we send a very nice welcoming letter to the person so that he feels good or she feels good. I'm going to join this organization and they're waiting for me. They are looking for me. That's the first thing after the grant. Then we allow them to stay in the guest house till such time they find a place to stay, their accommodation. So we give them free accommodation for some time in the guest house. Then after that, the laboratories, not only that lab where they are going to work, we give them a tour around the whole university so that they will know where is central instrumentation facility, where the equipments of my choice, who are the people, which are the other departments where I can work together. So we give them a tour after they meet the mentor. Then a person is identified to go with him for a week, so that an exposure is given to the person to know the whole ecosystem, where the administrative office is, where the incubator is, and where I have to go for stationery or any other computer support or mobile support. So all this is initially the orientation is given. Then we also give what facilities you require is already built. Before a person joins, a preparatory meeting takes place at the university. If he is going to molecular medicine and stem cell research, then we identify where he is going to be seated, where his laboratory is going to be. So we identify before the candidate arrives the preparatory work is done so that it does the day one, a person can take off with the project work. So this is the preparatory work. Then we also identify the other facilities. If it is available not here, where do we have to go to get it done, or should be outsourced to another organization where it can be done, where we have MOUs. Like we have MOUs with ICMR, ICAR, CSIR. We have a formal MOUs with these. So we can access, these candidates can access any of the institute under those. This is a Amity group of universities along with CSIR, ICMR, ICAR, we have formal MOUs. So this provides an outreach. So if I don't have it here, I can use that facility over there in CSIR. So this is again a great advantage for the candidate to access this. Then we also give them, ask them to give a webinar so that other people will know what this person is doing, so that it's just not only he knows what others are doing, what he is or she is doing. A webinar is arranged, or if it is when during the open thing, then we physically call in person the people, they interact with other people, so that they also add value, how it can be done. I can help you in this, I can help you. So this is how the person is oriented to the system, and the person's program is oriented to the ecosystem, so that they then we have created clusters. We have created research clusters. If he belongs to cancer biology, then we have a cancer cluster who are the experts in other Amity universities. So he is going to be connected not only the university where he is going to join the campus, but the other people in the group where we have a research cluster in the thematic. We have established 16 clusters so far, including biofuel cluster, cancer cluster, agricultural biotechnology cluster. So like this, we have various clusters. So the person gets connected, becomes a member of that research group, research cluster. So the value addition comes in, so that he will be able to be guided, not just only in that institute or in the university, but other campuses. So such kind of things will help the Ramalingaswami Fellows to really realize their dreams and potentials to the best of their abilities. And we also give the lab support, what is required. If something is not there, we provide it immediately from Amity Group, because it's an addition. Because normally the first thing is the basic infrastructure will be available. But if something more is added, it is also provided immediately by the group. And if some people require a seed grant, seed money to start, if they don't have, this 10 lakh is not sufficient, they want to add another 5 lakhs. We provide them on a case-to-case basis, not a general thing, but on a case-to-case basis where it is required and why it is required. So all that is assessed and given as a case-to-case basis, so that the fellows don't have any problem to start this. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, just on the same note, I wanted to ask, like, what is typically done to such non-tenured fellows who eventually doesn't get, a permanent position, secured a permanent position in the institute, or at the end of the fellowship. So, do the host institutes guarantee a tenured position, or how you look at those applicants when eventually they don't get to secure a position in the institute?
Are you asking me this question?
I'm asking to Dr. Vasudha.
Okay.
Yeah. So Avijit, I think there is no guarantee of absorbing. I think Dr. Meenakshi tried to point that also earlier. In a government institute setup, we have to always go by the number of faculty positions released from the MHRD or Ministry of Education, whatever. And that depends on a lot of factors. So we can't really create a position. I mean, even for us to go up the ladder, for instance, if I have to become an associate, I have to reapply and see the panel. It's a lot of important protocol, because you don't want to create unfairness. So this is important. So therefore, this will not give you any guarantee. But in a private institute, this is possible. That is what they have been trying to point out. When there is an knowledge or important person, they can absorb. But therefore, picking a post institution, talking to them much before, do they want that area person, is very important. So this is why I say talking to a host institute, like for instance, ISER Tirupati, we are looking for newer fields. You can look who are the people in ISET Tirupati? There are so many different fields that we are interested. So talk to the chair and you align your research thoughts, you have better chances in future to be absorbed. Abhijit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
another thing I would say, see what happens initially, it's given for 5 years, but in the 4th year, we do compile. I mean, normally the DBT, what it does compile the list of fellows who have got the permanent position if they are still on a soft position. So we do consider their application for the extension. It's only for 2 years. Initially, when we started, it was full 5-year tenure. It was 5 plus 5. Then the experts felt that, the fellows can become complacent, and, it is important for them to look for the job. The sooner they get it, the better it is. So that is how in the 4th year, we do ask them to present their work before the expert committee, and then they're given extension. By and large, most of the people do get the extensions. So I think, see, 7 years is a fairly good enough time to scout for a job. And that's what I'm telling again and again, that since the beginning of this fellowship, this gives you a buffering time to scout for the job, not that it gives you the position, the permanent position. That is very clear from this fellowship.
Yeah,
Let
actually,
me also supplement.
if I may add,
Sorry.
please, Professor
Please go ahead.
I mean,
See, today
I'm
the
sorry.
job opportunities are growing up in India tremendously. This is the destination for youngsters like you, because it's just not only academic institution. Industries, biotechnology industries are growing exponentially. And whether it is vaccines or it is the Biocon or Bharat Biotech, Shanta Biotech, like that, so many industries are growing. They need people. So it is, don't only look for, and they also do research. They do high-end research as well, more applied and goal-oriented. So don't confine yourself only to the institutions, universities. Look at industry as well for employment. Once you are in the fellowship scheme, there are a lot of opportunities, and India, you won't have any problem. As she said, within 5 years, you will get a job. And that too, with your track record of your H index, I-10 index, you will certainly get a job. Don't worry about this. Yes. And India is growing economically, and the job opportunities are growing. Otherwise, you become an entrepreneur. You become a startup. So keep all these options open.
What Dr.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, I just want to add one more thing. What Dr. Selvamoorthy said is right, but we need a change in the mindset. What is happening with the researchers is they want to do their research their way. See, what happens when you join an industry, you have to work for the industry. So there is that subtle difference, and we have to accept that. Once we accept that, things are better. But no, I want to create my own research, my own group. So somewhere one has to compromise.
Right.
Just one last point, Avijit, I'm sorry. I mean, although I told there is no real return guarantee, but in a lot of institutes, if you stay 5 years, like Dr. Munshi also mentioned, you would have contributed so much to the institute as well, that already adds good points to why they would want to have you in as soon as they have a position. So don't hesitate, you should consider and come back early. This is something I told also in YIM. This is something I didn't know. For instance, the biology, already we take a long time to graduate properly. And if you are aiming for high career, good awards, I mean, for awards, you have age limits in India. And you need to contribute from Indian ecosystem to apply for these recognitions and awards. And if you come very late, you are not going to be in that. So this is something many people don't recognize. So you come early, don't keep doing postdoc, and this always delays. So think early, come early, find a host institute, come.
I want to add more. The problem is even those fellows, they don't want to relocate also many times. They were, I will tell you from my experience dealing with them, there was a guy who was in Kerala, and he got a position in North, but he didn't want to transit. So then you have to be open, and things are there. You move to different places, and you will get the jobs. Don't be rigid.
Right.
Go
I mean, I think I'm sorry to interrupt because of the shortage of time.
Sure.
We still have our final session, which is basically the impact of this fellowship on the overall landscape of Indian science, how it is more transforming. So I think we have steered enough discussion on the previous part of the post award post our tenure, where like how to get the best out of your fellowships. But at the same time, I think we have steered the discussion already further on that direction, that how these fellowships are helping actually not only the fellows but also beyond that. So on that note, I would like to ask uh, Dr. Vasudha again, that transition fellowships like RLAs has been instituted to attract highly qualified scientists working abroad and who are willing to transition back to India. So how has this program contributed in changing the research ecosystem in India? So if you
I
could
mean, I will
elaborate a
add
bit.
my points, but I think the right person is again Dr. Selvamurthy and Dr. Meenakshi, who has followed it so critically. I mean, at least from the small view that I have from some of the ICERs, they really bring excellent value advantage to institutes also. I mean, the interdisciplinary research is very much needed at the moment. And I think Ramalingaswami has not failed to attract these people. And a lot of very young and different research ideas have come back. I mean, even now, for instance, the 3-4 Ramalinga fellows we have, one is on big data biology, one is a traditional cancer biologist, but the big data biology is very much in need in the country right now. A lot of courses are being offered, and newer research areas are emerging. So such interesting people are coming back, and the productivity is also high. We are already heading to high impact journals from Ramalingaswami Re-entry people. So it's a very positive impact, and they getting other awards also seem to be better. It turns out to be better. Like Dr. Meenakshi also pointed out, I've seen Ramalinga fellows who have published well, applying to Welcome DBT, getting that. I mean, one of the most prestigious ones you can. So therefore, there is no limit for changing the ecosystem itself. Ramalinga fellows are creating their signature, and this is going to continue. I'm going to leave it to the other two seniors who will add more.
Avjit, may I supplement what she rightly said?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
See, this is a game changer for Indian science and technology. Thanks to Meenakshi, DBT, Rajiv Sharma, who was associated earlier, and also the whole people the architect of the scheme. The whole purpose is, how do we bring this talent pool, which is available outside, Indian talent pool, available outside? How do we harness this potential? So that is how the scheme, and it has met its objective. It's meeting its objectives.
I think we lost.
What it has made on Indian science and technology. The first, we see today, we publish as she said, a high quality publication is coming. Projects we are getting, because these people have tremendous potentials, Early Career Award, Welcome Trust, DBT Welcome Trust Alliance. So all these projects are coming in a large number. Today we have 400 projects in Amit, 400, including the Welcome Trust and others. In international projects. So more projects are coming through them. As I said, Pallavi has 4 projects worth 2 crore, 1 person, 2 crore, 4 projects. Just one example I'm telling. So projects increasing. Publications is increasing in the high quality, high impact factor journals. Citation index is growing. This is important for ranking, accreditation. Today, Amity ranking is in top 3% in the world university.
With the internet, I guess.
So it is also helping in ranking and accreditation. Then coming to in terms of the product development, they are adding value, because these people communications are very good. They give the brand, the image building for the organization through these ambassadors. When we send them to conference, they communicate well and they do high quality research. So these are all benefit to the university host institution. Now coming to Indian science, today if India is 3rd in publication, 9th in patent, and also innovation index growing now from 48, now we are moving to the higher level. So if this Ramalingaswami fellows, even though it's a young scheme, it is also contributing to this merit list of India today. So I must really say that it is making a great impact. The Ramalingaswami Fellows are bringing a change in terms of Indian science and technology. Now with this STIP policy and NEP, National Education Policy 2020, giving more flexibility, more freedom, more working together with industry, working with other institutions, I think this scheme is going to really bring about a sea change in terms of taking the quality of Indian science and technology to a different level. And also industries will feel that. After some time, they will also transit over to industry, some of them who have aptitude to work in industrial systems. So I think this is a very good scheme, and compliments to the DBT for implementing this. And also the institution should harness this. That is the most important thing. See, you are giving a good seed. How you get the benefit out of the fruits, it depends on the farmer who will nurture this. Thank you.
So we are thank you, Dr. Selvamoorthy. We are already past of our scheduled time, but I do have one last question, and because we have already crossed our time, I will make it a rapid fire rather. So right. I mean, I will rather start with the awardees, our Ramalingaswami Fellows, and first I will start with Atul, and then sorry. Yeah, I'll start with Anil, right? Yeah, start with Anil. So, what is the most critical component of the success of a candidate who is applying for this fellowship? Mind it just be in one-liner.
Complete package: writing, proper writing, grant writing, networking, good communication. Feel free to reach everyone possible. Maybe
I will add to it, be realistic with your objectives, what you can achieve, even in a given time frame.
Yes,
of course, your entire package, as I mentioned earlier.
Dr. Shobna,
potential for future leaders in science and technology. That's what we look at.
Yes. So I think so. In addition to everything, passion. Like if you want to do something, you will find a way to make your way in life. You just need to believe in yourself.
Exactly. That will reflect from the way you have drafted your application.
Yeah,
absolutely. Dr. Vasudha, you want to add?
I think they really said it all, but it's a package. It's not one ingredient. So you have to have the package, top it with passion, and you're there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And another thing I want to tell all the potential applicants, whenever they make it, they get selected, please be patient. See, in US or in Europe, you do one experiment in 2 days, but in India, you may take 1 week or 10 days or more. Be patient. Don't compare apples and oranges. Everything is relative. So that is what I would...
Avjit, just one. I want to place on record our gratitude to Sci-ROI. You are doing a great job, because you are the medium through which we are getting this, implementing this Ramalingaswami Fellowship. So thanks to all of you, starting from Dr. Asim Ansari, Dr. Atul, Dr. Ajit, and many others.
He's the person behind
our founder is there.
Yeah, he's very much here. Asim, can you unmute yourself and show yourself?
Yeah, we want to hear you, Dr. Asim.
I'm learning from watching you guys. I'm just learning, trying to absorb. I don't want to interfere. This is really, I'm learning a lot from the panelists and also the Sci-ROI organizing team that has arranged all this. It's a joy to see this grow up.
See, it has been, Asim has been working behind this before Sci-ROI came into existence. It's going on for long, Dr. Selvamoorthy. I just want to tell you.
It's a great noble service to Indian science and technology.
I'm going to mute myself. No, you should.
No, I mean it. When I say this, the way you are connecting people, not only for Ramalingaswamy Fellows, even to look for other scientific opportunities with industries.
He had been doing many other programs with Asim on, Khurana program.
This is one of them.
Tech transfer courses, a lot of things he has done. Asim, I am saying what you have done. I'm not saying anything.
You richly deserve. So let's give a big clap to him.
Oh my goodness. Thanks to the Sci-ROI.
We mean it.
All these guys, really, Avijit, Manali, Prakriti, and
all of them.
Yeah, the Sci-ROI team is just amazing. It's just wonderful.
Dr. Asim, we want to hear you.
No, I'm learning from
just 2 minutes.
Thank you all. So with this, we conclude our panel discussion. We express our sincere gratitude to all our panelists who have for having wonderful discussions and the previous awardees for their insightful talks. We hope that all the participants of this workshop found this useful and it will help them to land a Ramalingaswami Fellowship in the future.
I tried my best to answer many questions, but there are still questions in the Q&A box. So what are we going to do with that?
So they can reach us. Like we have shared, we have our contact number, email ID on different platforms. Please feel free to reach us, and we are free to give our question. And even Munshi ma'am is there on Facebook, and trust me, she will guide you through the process each and every step.
I should
time tested.
I fully agree. I fully agree. Dr. Munshi has been amazing in terms of responding to the many, many, many questions on many, many different topics.
Yeah.
I don't know where you find the time. I'm always wondering.
Dr. Meenakshi, we are very proud of you.
Yeah, no,
she very, very proud of you.
Right from the beginning, when we asked her to come and talk at Sci-ROI, right in the beginning, 2015, 2016.
Yes, that's what I said. Like, it's long association.
No, but you came without hesitation. He was the first person to respond, give us guidance on how to officially invite a government official.
If we cannot do research ourselves, let's be enablers to other people. That's what I believe in.
Yes. That's really great.
Dr. Selfbelief is like, I don't know if the participants really appreciate what Amity is doing. I mean, it is really pushing the boundaries of how you can do science in India. These things could have been, would have been unimaginable just 5 years ago. And the more they do, the more others, say, oh, that is working for them, we should do it too. So some of these private institutions, I'll be honest, I was very skeptical because when we were doing Khurana program, I don't know if you guys remember, some of you were on panels. There would always be question, what quality science is being done at private institutions? And I can tell you, over the last 10 years, I have, it's a quantum jump in terms of the quality of work, the enabling and all that. So we should thank Dr. Selvam-Murthy for all he's doing at Amity. And by doing that, he sets the example for other institutions to say, we want to do that too. Right?
Very true. I have taken notes from him actually.
And also the founders of Amity, the governance is by elite people. Dr. Chauhan himself is PhD in chemical engineer, Ashok Chauhan. Atul Chauhan is both London School of Economics and University of London, both engineering as well as economics. Then Asim Chauhan is from Wharton Business School. Amol Chauhan is from Harvard. They are governing Amity. See, the promoters and the founders who govern, they have research and innovation in their heart and soul. That is how they are creating this ecosystem drive and pushing. So I would like to say that, yes, even though I'm part of that system, but right from founder till to the faculty, they have the same philosophy. We have to serve the society. We have to serve the society through research and innovation.
Yes.
Thank you all. We thank the panelists and the participants for making this event successful. And now we have some announcements regarding some of our future programs. And I would like to invite Manali to come up and give.
Before you go to announcements, I just want to make one quick point.
I think Asati wants to say something.
Yeah, just one quick point. There are many questions here about how do we get in touch with everybody and how do we do this, how we do that. I would recommend to the participants that you stay in touch with Sci-ROI so that they can take a lot of the questions that are very similar and send it to the appropriate panelists, as opposed to sending 1,000 people sending questions, 150 people sending questions that are identical to each one of the panelists. So you're more likely to get an answer, a coherent answer, if you send it to Sci-ROI team. And Atul has just thanked everybody. I would also like to thank everybody. I would like to thank, of course, the panelists for taking time out of their day, because they're doing this surely out of the goodness of their heart, if you will, or the desire to enable the mission. So I'd like to thank the panelists, my old friends, and I don't mean friends are old, but our friendship is old. Meenakshi and Dr. Selvam-Murthy, and of course the talented young assistant professors who've taken this and are now trying to give back. This is the sort of engagement that changes an ecosystem, right? Because most people get what they have, and the pressures of setting up your lab and being an assistant professor and being successful are such that it is very little time that's left, for anything else. So for them to take the time to do this and to offer their time to answer your questions, you have no idea how precious that is, because they're really living it at the moment and have on the ground advice that is valuable. So I'd like to thank them. And of course, we've already mentioned it, but I'd like to reiterate that the Sci-ROI team is exactly doing the same thing. None of these people are paid, right? The volunteers that you're seeing, Avijit, Atul, Manali, Prakriti, and so, am I missing anybody? I guess Manali is part of WinStep now. So WinStep, Sci-ROI are, of course, related. Um, WinStep gave birth to Sci-ROI in 2015 and has supported Sci-ROI all the way. So Manali is now part of WinStep as well and is doing things on a national level. So here's a Sci-ROI volunteer who started out volunteering for several years and then now has stopped being a scientist and now become a science policy trainee, and someday will be a major policy person. Manali, if I may dare say so. I don't know what your future holds. I'm sure it's going to be very, very bright. But she's now engaged in bringing pharmaceutical companies to India, working with CSIR at the national level, bringing academic institutions like UCSF, St. Jude, other institutions like this, to partner with major institutes in India, again at a national level rather than one-to-one level. So this is the kind of impact one person can have. And here the volunteers, you're seeing 4 of them here, but there are 10 and then past volunteers who have supported the program, have given their time, have engaged in a way that just um, merits, great admiration. And I must thank them. And I thank them as often as I can for all the things that they're doing beyond the original vision of just making the information available, right? So today's session is an example of what has come out of volunteers saying there's a gap. Not only should we tell our people here what opportunities exist, but how to access them. And once you access them, what are the challenges you will face and how to overcome them, right? This evolution in Sci-ROI is so valuable and is only possible because these guys take the time they do and think about the problems that you will face, participants will face, right? And then what we are going to do, what Manali and the Sci-ROI team, Organizing Leadership Council, is going to do, is now build a network of former Sci-ROI members who have gone to India. Many have gone to India because of meetings like this. But once they land, they feel a little isolated. There are, India Biosciences has something, there's a young investigators meeting and all that good stuff. But at those meetings, you rarely get a chance to truly go into the nuts and bolts of what is not working or what challenge you might be facing at your institution, right? And there may be small things that can be easily fixed. But the administrators at the level or policymakers at the level of Dr. Munshi or Dr. Selvamurthy don't have the time or the bandwidth to handle those little nitty-gritty details, right? So what Sci-ROI is doing, what is the goal of Sci-ROI, the next major objective of this team and WinStep Forward working with this team very closely, is to build a network of former Sci-ROI members who are in India, and we are calling it Sci-ROI India. We've taken nascent steps. In 2019, we started, then of course COVID hits, everything froze. But with DBT, DST, CSIR, and SERV, and with the Prime Minister's office, PSA's office, Scientific Advisor's office, we discussed building Sci-ROI India as a platform for young investigators and potential mentors for those young investigators who could help navigate the Indian ecosystem and thereby change the Indian ecosystem to enable high quality, international quality science. So that we don't always compare ourselves to where is ICER Tirupati compared to MIT in the world. Oh, we are 127th, how do we get to 115? No, we do indigenous science, we build the ecosystem to do the sorts of problems that are not looked at in the West, right? And by doing so, you bring new insights on problems that are often neglected. And when you do that, you open up new paradigms and you become a leader that way, like C.V. Raman did, like Bose did, S.N. Bose, right? Or J.C. Bose even. Right. So that is the goal, and that is what Sci-ROI is going to be doing next. Again, I would like to thank the organizers, the panelists, for just growing beyond our original expectations.
So thank you Asim, for bringing up Sci-ROI India, because this is an excellent platform to tell everyone that we will be starting our organizing our first series of webinars through Sci-ROI India, which will be on evolving trends in STEM, in Indian STEM sector. So please keep a lookout. Please follow Sci-ROI and keep a lookout on the social media platforms and everything. We will be really soon. We will be announcing our first webinar series. But on that note, we do have some exciting news for Sci-ROI as well. So as most of you know probably, Sci-ROI does conduct an annual event every year. Last year, due to the pandemic, we shifted to a virtual platform, and this year we are going to continue that. So we are really excited to announce that we are going to organize a virtual annual event, which will be our 6th one. And keeping up with our trend, we will be having a lot of keynote and plenary talks, pre-recorded talks, panel discussions, breakout rooms, networking throughout the days that we are planning to do this event. And all this will be basically to bring together young Indian scientists who are scattered all over the world and would like to transition back to India or even contribute to Indian scientific economy, and make the connection between them and the Indian scientific experts who are currently in India, and they can, talk about these options that are available for them to go back in the funding sector, in the research ecosystem, within the academic institutes, in non-traditional careers like scientific communication, science policy, and all you can think of which are non-academic in nature, industry landscape, and entrepreneurship as well. So Atul, if the next slide, if you could go. So we are planning to do this between September 25 and October 3. So you will be soon hearing from us about registrations and how to, apply for a few of the things that I mentioned. And just to go into a bit more details, we are going to also host a few new exciting things. So one of them will be a 3-minute talk competition, where we will ask for abstracts from our attendees on how they can tailor your research idea to Indian scientific and funding ecosystem. And you did hear a lot about this today, so hopefully that gave you a few points. And then some of these shortlisted abstracts would be able to present their ideas during the annual event and get recommendations from experts in their field of advice. And then we will also be having a Sci-Art contest, and anyone is eligible to apply who would like to show their creative side. And we do have 2 topics where it's S&T vision in 2030, anything futuristic you can think of, or STEM innovations in India, going by Sci-ROI's mission. So I do hope all of you could register and participate in this exciting event. We'll have lots of details and registration, available to you in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned to our website, our social media platforms, as you can see on here, or write to us to our email ID if you have any questions regarding today's seminar as well as the upcoming events. With that, I really appreciate all our panelists coming at this late hour on a Sunday and being with us for almost 2.5 hours now, and patiently answering all our as well as the attendees' questions. And Dr. Ansari, for your kind words. You have been our inspiring leader for a long time now, and we'll all learn from you every day. And all our Sci-ROI volunteers, thank you so much. There are 14 members in the team, so you don't see all of them here, but everyone has put in equal amount of effort in all these webinars we do. And all our attendees, thank you for staying with us. Hopefully this was beneficial, and you can start applying this year or the coming few years for this prestigious fellowship. So with that, thank you everyone. Thank you for coming.
And let us clap for the volunteers. The volunteers are most important. Prakriti, Manali, and all others behind the scene.
Absolutely,
Thank you so much.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Have a good.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Dr. Munshi, if you could just stay back for a moment.
Sure.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.
Wonderful to see you all.
So can we leave?
Sure.
Please.
Yeah, go ahead, Anil.
You can never leave.
No, I have to just prepare for
Just
tomorrow.
joking, just
There is another meeting. There is another meeting.
So
at
with
10.
Sci-ROI India, we would like to keep you guys engaged for Sci-ROI India. Because
Yeah, we are always open for that. Viro, thank you a lot. See you soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Munshi, if you see in your chat, as well as Asim,
I saw that the
Yeah, I'll
link,
click on
another
it
link.
now. That's
yeah, if you just click on it, you will be transferred to that link. And
All right, I'll do that.
I've clicked right now, but I just wanted to thank everybody on this panel, right? I mean, guys, you guys have done a phenomenal job. It's outstanding.
Thanks, Asim.
thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
I'm not. Okay.
I just sent it to you in the chat.
Yeah, I saw it. I'm
You
trying
just click
to.
on it, it'll say go there. If you want to go there, then it'll say, do you want to leave this and join that one? Say yes.
Okay.
And here I go. Once I leave, I don't know if I'll be able to come back.
So we end it here, Manali, then?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Dr. Munshi to join that meeting, and then we can end it.
I see.
Leave and join.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So are we meeting the other one?
Yeah, that's not the link that is gone through.
No. I made a separate link here.
Okay, so let's meet in the other. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.